How's it going, everyone? It's Chemo Suave, and today I'm going to be talking about my experiences with Bloons Carstorm Alpha Test, the good and the bad. For a little backstory, I've developed my own Bloons card game before they even announced Bloons Carstorm, and to be honest, our games were quite similar. I say this because of one aspect of our game that we tried so hard to keep balanced was defense and offense. What do I mean by this? Well, in Bloons Carstorm, you can only win by getting your opponent down to 0 by balloons, and you're supposed to use monkeys to stop these balloons. Emphasis on supposed to, because you do not need to play monkeys to pop balloons. Which brings us to the current best hero in the game, Quincy. Quincy's kit is the reason why it's so hard to balance defense and offense, because he himself can be your entire defense. Let's go over his abilities. He has a 3 cost that deals 30 damage to the target balloon, a 6 cost passive that deals 10 damage to newly spawned enemy balloons, and a 9 cost that deals 50 damage to all enemy balloons. He's meant to deal damage to balloons on the spot. Meanwhile, Gwen's abilities are too slow and cost way too much to use. This is why Quincy has an aggro deck and Gwen doesn't. I don't really have a solution to fix this, other than giving all heroes some form of ability to damage the balloons, or buffing towers in some way. But one thing that does need changing is map effects. As someone who's played Bloons Tower Defense and TCGs his entire life, I can tell you that map effects cannot be a thing in the base game. Meaning it can have its own game mode, but if this game ever wants to be competitive, map effects change the games way too much. Currently there are 4 maps in the game: Monkey Meadow, Dark Castle, Workshop, and High Finance. Monkey Meadow has no map effect and is the standard map of the game. Dark Castle increases the tower's cost by 1, Workshop starts the player out with 1 additional card in hand, and High Finance starts players out with 3 additional gold. Yeah. One's clearly much different than the rest. Let's start with Workshop. Starting the game with 1 additional card isn't that game changing, since you still can't play any more cards than you could before. You just have a higher chance of getting the cards that you want in your starting hand. I feel like this is the most balanced map at the moment with the map effect. Now, Dark Castle. Typically you want to play balloons on your first and second turn to build up your plutonium and play a farm on your third turn. But Dark Castle delays that slightly by an additional turn. You're still able to skip your first turn to play farm on your second turn, which is nice. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have High Finance. I mean, where do we even begin? Starting the game with 5 gold allows you to do so many things in the game that are nowhere near possible. For instance, you're able to play BFB on your first turn if you have cash drop in your hand. There should be no way you should be able to put a 550 body onto the field on your first turn. It's so much pressure that unless your opponent started or drew into return to sender, he'll invest way more to deal with the BFB. That's just one example, and I could go more into it, but maps like High Finance cannot exist. To keep the flavor of balloons, map effects can stay, but keep map effects weak. Like, you can nerf High Finance to start the player off with plus 1 gold. Even then, being able to play a banana farm on your first turn is still quite too good. Speaking of good, there are some things in this game that would be good for players to know about, but that the alpha failed to explain to the player. 2 examples being the storm mechanic and the tech shooter's hidden effect. I won't dive too deep into the storm mechanic because I have a video on the way explaining the ins and out of it, but basically the tutorial didn't really explain the mechanic and is actually very important to the game. Playing the game for the first time made me confused on what was happening, and I wasn't the only one. Even Idzat was confused on his first stream of the game. Tech Shooter also confused me at first. Its text explained that it was able to attack the enemy balloon, but didn't explain that it gives plus 10 attack on the enemy's turn. Ninja Kiwi is known for leaving vague or completely leaving out details in tower descriptions, but I hope they understand that they can't do that in a card game. Cards need explanations. Expecting players to remember details that weren't even explained to them is not ideal. For instance, in Hearthstone, you can hover over a keyword to get the keyword's details. Ninja Kiwi should do something like that if they're trying to keep the text short. But card games in general need more details to explain to the player who might not know what a card does. I know I sound like I have issues with the game, but truthfully I love Bloons Carstorm, and I thought the alpha was great. I just care so much about the game that I want it to be a big success, and not fail like how Battles 2 did. This game has a lot of potential, and is really fun to play, which is why this is now going to be the new content I make for my channel. But with all that being said, I appreciate y'all all for watching. If you have any concerns with the game you want to address, leave a comment down below letting me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all guys in my next video.